Dreaming of owning a property in a prime location with great proximity and fantastic neighborhood? EJ Investments Sanyang Seaview Estate is the best choice you have been waiting for. Our Sanyang Seaview Estate is approximately 15 minutes drive away from the busy hub of Brusubi roundabout and into the heart of nature, where you can have a peaceful and relaxed lifestyle with your family. You can buy a finished 4-bedroom story with 5-year flexible payment plan or a service plot with 2-year payment plan option. With over 300 homes, you will enjoy big tar roads with covered drainage, modern electrification with solar street lights, gated entrance with security post, and a breath-catching experience of our beautiful sea view and lake view. You can own a home today at our Sanyang Seaview Estate. Call us today on 446-4838 or 325-9220. Visit our website on ejinvestments.net. EJ Investments, first in property.
Hello, it's another beautiful Saturday, and this is the brunch here on Kerr Fatou with me, GYO. And of course, I'm not alone in the studio. On my immediate right, I have Mr. Lamin Cham, who's from the Standard newspaper, and of course, Nimasata Kamara, and Mr. Mustafa Kedabo. You're all highly welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
Today, indeed, is going to be a very interactive one, as we always do. Mr. Lamin Cham will take us through on the newspaper review. What do you have for us for this week?
Good, thanks, and to our viewers around the world. I will start with the much talk about coalition survival meeting that will happen on the 11th April. I will talk about the latest activities of the PRC, that is the visit to the prisons and the secret detention centers. And I will talk about JCB Mendy's murder charge, the police side of the story. That's, if time allows, among other things.
Thank you. I am quite interested to know much more about the coalition meeting slated. I know a lot have been said, especially when it rolled out during the week, and a lot of people are looking forward to this. Well, what do you make of this story?
Well, let me start by giving the background. The former vice president and the woman who was credited for bringing the coalition parties together in 2016, Fatoumatta Tambadang, was in Dakar on the same flight with President Barrow, attending, I would say, the twin ceremonies of inauguration as well as independence of President Sall. And there she granted an interview to West Africa Democrats Radio, and she said the coalition will come together again to talk about the pertinent issues. And those issues that are pertinent today are that the coalition is broken up. The latest breakaway, the latest breaking was between President Barrow and UDP, his native political base, if you like. Now, Mrs. Tambadang said she is going to call this meeting, and this meeting will show people that the coalition is still apart, and they will come together. And President Barrow accepted to himself announce the outcome of the meeting. Now, this has led to a lot of speculations. For example, the whole entire members of the coalition interested in this meeting. What is President Barrow's interest in this meeting? Because he has said he is not going to talk to anybody about whether he should stay for 5 years or not. And Mrs. Tambadang, of course, repeated the fact that the most logical thing is he served for 5 years. He served for 5 years, but then we know that this is not the position of at least two members of the coalition, the PPP and the Doyle, have said that they would prefer, they keep the promise for 2 years. So the meeting, the announcement of the meeting has really set the ball rolling for people to speculate as to what will happen on the 11th. Is Mr. Barrow interested? Is he going to capitulate, like abandon his ambition to go for a second term? Many people think that's too late. He's not, maybe he's going to announce an even more glorified ambition to stay in power. So this is speculation that this announcement brought about. So, what do you make of it?
Well, I think the timing is right. I remember when the coalition first fall apart, it was as a result of Lawyer Dabo coming out to say that the 3 years is not going to hold, it's going to be 5 years. So many people credited such a statement to be the reason why the coalition fall apart. And now that the UDP is now out of the picture, we can imagine why the coalition members will want to come back on board. And our expectation is perhaps they're going to talk about the 3 years term, whether or not it's going to hold.
Is it important as to whose behest is the meeting being called?
It is important. It is important.
If it is Mr. Barrow, what does he want to achieve?
If it is Barrow who is calling for the meeting, that's what makes it really interesting. What is going to be his message? Very recently, prior to this, he made an announcement in one of his meetings that nobody is going to remove him from power before his term ends in 5 years, in 2 years' time. So maybe that could be, calling this meeting could be renegotiating the terms. Perhaps that's how I'm looking at it. Maybe he wants to renegotiate the term to say that I want to serve for 5 years and then maybe I'm going to resign after that and I'm not going to contest again. And I think that would be a close
trade-off. Would that be an enticement or a surprise if he says, okay, now, because at first he said he's not going to talk with anybody when it comes to 5 years' time is concerned. Mrs. Tambajan is saying that Barrow agreed to this meeting. And she said that it's only logical for him to serve 5 years. Mrs. Tambajan did not talk beyond 5 years. And there's a bone of contention between Barrow and, for example, UDP. Do you think at this meeting, their coalition partners, that is, if they show up and take any interest, would take anything other than 5 years? Would they even agree with 5 years? Because, like I said, 2 or 3 members don't agree with even these 5 years.
5 years is much more logical. Barrow have the constitution in his favor on that. And also a lot of Gambians they tend to agree on that based on certain issues, which is the reforms that are ongoing, TRC ongoing, CRC ongoing. So probably some Gambians will find it logical that he remains there to oversee those reform processes. But his disagreements for him is over him staying beyond that time. Largely. And I don't see coalition partners agreeing to that. But then again, if you look at the nature by which the meeting was called, you realize that Barrow has actually said before that he is the president and he doesn't have to consult anybody.
That's what that was. He said that.
So, but then if you also look at the coalition agreement, and what happened from the very day Barrow came to power, you know right now that Fatou Tambajan is talking about a coalition that is not existing. The coalition right now, it's just an idea that is in her head. It's not on anything.
But she said Barrow agreed to it.
So the coalition did not vote for an executive president. Now, coalition agreement was that when they won, they would have a transitional leader. Barrow is not a transitional leader by conduct, by practice, and by law.
And by pronouncements.
What the coalition said was that they were going to elect a president who would only nominate even ministerial appointments for them to subject to approval by the coalition secretariat. One, he could not also just hire and fire anyone. There will be checks on it. And all these things had never happened. So he appointed ministers and stuff, and they congratulated themselves, called their families, but that was the first day they started having an executive president. So there is no coalition.
So, but now, if Mr. Tambajan said Barrow agreed to this, and he will be the one who will come and announce the outcome of the meeting, then suddenly she must have drawn some courage from Barrow's
from Barrow's side, but we are talking about coalition which has certain set of ideas, certain set of reform agenda. They came with a plan. If the coalition is a plan, if that plan is not in existence, then there is no coalition.
I don't necessarily agree with that. The coalition is different parties coming together. Whether or not they honor the agreement or not does not necessarily matter. It matters in other sense, but it doesn't matter to the fact that a coalition exists or it doesn't exist. But I think the basic question is who else is willing to join this meeting.
But then again, how many people are those in those coalitions that are right now in the coalition?
That's
No.
a basic question.
No,
Yeah, so
no,
when you have Barrow on his side,
listen, now.
PDP is out, PDY is long gone.
So we
No, I mean, you don't see the point of view. You don't see the point of view of Madam Tambada. Madam Tambada, you're saying that you're suggesting that if you're out of government, you're out of coalition. No,
Madam
she
Tambada is
says
saying that we are coming to review the coalition agenda.
yes, which includes a 5-year term and 3-year
So the
term.
reviewing of the coalition agenda is not just focusing on Barrow, but also focusing on their agenda,
Yes.
the reform agenda.
Yeah, but when you say nobody's in
The
them,
coalition did not vote an executive president. A president who will come and say, make the rules.
now listen, Madam Tambada,
The coalition says, we are bringing in a 3-year president. who
I understand,
will
but this
reform
meeting-
institutions and put us in the
As far
path
as
of
this-
development.
as far as
Not
this-
busy yourself over
as far as this meeting is concerned, Madam Tambajang is saying the coalition, not necessarily who is in or out of government. I mean, she herself is out of government, and she's counted herself very much as coalition. She's talking about people who form the coalition, whether they are in and out of government, should come together. So whether or not the members are in government or not, they are still coalition members. They themselves claim that.
Your point is the president has gone off track. He has deviated from the coalition agenda.
Yes.
That is true. But there is nothing to point out to the fact that they can still come back on track. They can bring him back on track.
They are
Whether
still
that's
the
a
coalition.
possibility or not.
you see-
They are still the coalition
See,
members.
Another key issue that's also here is that whatever the coalition say is not binding on Barrow. One, it's not binding on him. Because there is no law supporting the coalition agreement. Two, there is no trust now binding or bonding Barrow and his partners.
Yeah.
Barrow has been seen to have flouted agreements they've had before.
But if
So
he is the
when
one,
you are talking of,
but if he's the one, if he's seemingly he is the one calling this meeting.
Yeah.
I mean, from most people's analysis, he is the one calling this meeting through Fatou, because Fatou wouldn't have come out and said Barrow agreed to
Of
it.
course, Fatou must have got assurance.
Assurance from Barrow. So if it is Barrow calling this meeting, then he must have something important to say.
Yeah.
No,
See,
but
my
Barrow-
question still is, who else is going to be there? We know that my father is still with Barrow. Ahmad Ba is with Barrow.
No, they are in the government. They are
Would
in the
UDP
government
Would the UDP, for example, attend this meeting? Would PDOIS attend this meeting? Those are the
With
basic
PPP.
questions. And these are the
with PPP. Well, according to me,
I spoke to some members in a lot of these parties who just
but not the leadership.
and they don't appear to be keen. In fact, the people I spoke to are in the executive.
So what would be the
In a lot of
implications,
these
for
parties,
example?
they don't seem to be keen, not necessarily not interested, but they don't seem to be keen on agreeing with Madam Tambayan's view of things. Because like I said, there is an executive president. Barrow obviously was right, that he does not need anybody. The law says this is what he would do. You understand? But you would have to also understand, Barrow's statements have also, in the eyes of some right-thinking members and even some diplomats, delegitimized his standing in some ways. Because why? They were looking for some guy who honors his words.
Exactly.
Good leadership is also about that.
Yeah.
So when he said, "I have no time to," they look at it as arrogant and a betrayal of some sort.
Now,
Such symptom
to sum up this issue now, okay. You said right-thinking people, observers of the Gambian political scene. Would they now agree that Mr. Barrow is standing alone now, not because he refused to be dictated to by the coalition members, but he chose to entrench himself in power, much to the disagreement of the coalition partner. So he is the bad man now in the eyes of right-thinking.
That's the idea. That's why.
Is that what you're suggesting?
That's why I say the coalition was not meant to produce an executive president.
So what does
No,
that mean?
because what we are saying, the trend.
What does it mean? A president is a president. The
No, it's
Constitution
perfect.
says one thing,
Yeah.
the agreement says another.
Another.
Right?
Yeah.
A president is a president. Barrow has at his disposal an opportunity to choose what he wants to do, and he does it. And what he did contravened
The
provisions
agreement.
of the agreement.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
That is on Barrow.
That's on Barrow, obvious.
Exactly.
So what I'm trying to suggest, okay.
The violation is still there if the members choose to come back into the fold. But would they come back into the fold? That's the question.
Yeah, that's why I didn't say the coalition.
And what would be the implication of this meeting?
I'm not saying the coalition cannot be brought back. I am saying the coalition had died long ago. It was a dead on arrival.
No, the agenda is dead long time ago.
But as a skeptic of the process right now, I'm saying the trust bonding Barrow and his partners is broken, long broken.
So your point is the meeting will not serve any purpose.
Well, let's wait and see on the
okay, and that meeting is on the 11th.
Because there are certain things that are a non-starter for a lot of his partners, and that's beyond 5 years.
Yeah, but that he wants to go for a second term.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, but Madam Tamaja is not talking beyond 5 years. She said 5 years should be. So perhaps Mr. Barrow will have a very important announcement to say, because
let me also say the reason why I brought trust here is that you think if Barrow comes to his partners and say, okay, back me, let's get 5 years. Of course, even if they don't back him, he will get 5 years. That's what the law says. But he says, oh, back me, let me get 5 years. Then after the 5 years, I will step down. You think they will trust him?
No.
Breaking the past agreement?
No, but I mean, they will wait until the 5 years. They have no choice.
No, I know they have no choice.
Yes.
But you think they would trust whatever it is that he said?
No, I mean, but what do they need to do now? When he says 5, they will tell him. For example, the UDP will tell him.
It serves Barrow for them to come back.
No, listen.
That serves him.
But listen, what would the UDP do? For example, we say, well, we never had quarrel with 5 years. As far as our position had always been 5 years. So if you say you're going to 5 years, fine.
Even if they have a quarrel, they cannot do anything about it.
What I'm saying is, they will always say, well, we never had any qualms about 5 years. We were the one who first came out and said, you can serve for 5 years. So if you are speaking that language, fine with me.
Who actually agree with 5 years.
Yes, that's true. Okay, let's move on. We now go. Okay, that meeting is on the 11th, 12th. We will see what will come out of it. In case you are wondering when will that. At the Kairaba, where it all happened. Okay, now we move on to the TRRC. Recently, the TRRC have been visiting. The journalists called it notorious detention centers around the country. One in Joshua, which is not quite even known, near the prisons. It was said to be a private residence. That is where soldiers like Boubacar Ba and others were kept in secret, and they were chained against the wall, etc., and they were found. That was found to be a secret detention center, not known to the people. And they went to Janjambure and to the Fajara barracks, to where political detainees were detained. They said these visits were necessary because those institutions or those facilities were mentioned by witnesses, and they want to have first-hand information on them. Why was it important for them to visit these places, you think?
I think it's all part of the process of gathering evidence. A lot of things have been alleged, torture, legal detentions, like you've mentioned. So if this is alleged, they want to have a first-hand information as to whether in fact these places exist and what kind of atrocities might have been committed there. And I think this is the reason why we felt it was necessary to barricade some of these places so that people do not necessarily have access to it, so that some of those evidences that they would have the chance to collate would still remain. And I think it's a good thing that they have gone around to see that some of these places have existed.
Even conventional detention centers like Mile 7 and Joswang are said not to be of international standard, much more a private residence. Now, my impression is that, or rather than the prisons, they actually want to expose the many secret detention centers that Jammeh's regime was operating to put political opponents in there. What do you make of the visit to that private residence, for example?
Yeah,
How?
I was there. But if you look at a lot of those things, it was also about putting. It's as if you are putting faces to say places. You putting, like, if there's a story and you're putting a face to a story, you know, this is more or less like that. Like if some people appear before the commission and say, while he was being shot at the football field, I was at a cookhouse looking. So you want to know whether someone can even look at, whether someone standing at a cookhouse can see someone being shot at the football field. You want to look at the proximity of the places mentioned. You want to look at the nature of the places to understand the torture and to understand the events as they happen. For instance, when Gambia and others were attacking Fajara barracks, they appeared from the football field, from the other side from Newtown. And then in those times, those places were not built. No. Other sides just had a very small fence. Yeah. So, and the sentries that were mounted there, how were they? So the commission had an understanding of all these things upon their visit. This were where the sentries were, this is how soldiers behaved.
But did it occur to them how these private residences were even acquired? Were they seized properties?
For the detention centers, some of them are seized properties.
Seized properties.
Some of them are
how
properties owned by...
secret detention centers?
Actually, there are a lot.
There are a lot. I was
one at the airport. There's one
even at this
Dunes Resort itself.
Even at it was even alleged that NRA, the present premises occupied by NRA was one time used as detention center. Maybe that's all this will come. There were allegations like that.
And this place was
Holy there was Holy wasn't that what Holy
And this place where we go, we have, that is why people here would say, Yamutalani disappeared.
Yes.
In those days, you will disappear and you will go to NIA and they will tell you.
The police said we don't have it.
They are not there.
Yes.
NIA,
and the police said we don't have it.
There.
And could we say perhaps the junglers were involved in this arrest?
Of course. Where we went to, the detention center was was very close to the Joshua place.
Yes,
the residents of that area, the guy next door, was surprised.
We didn't even know.
That place was a detention center.
You see?
The guy next door.
We didn't know.
And this house, where it was built, you have a small, big house, a self built opposite. Then you have a room of about 5 by 7 meters. No, about 3 by 4 meters sort of.
Nice, good.
You have hooks that were found at NIA, like hooks that were like this.
Where they are too.
They were pegged on the wall.
And then
of about 4 meters, like 2, 3, 4 inches height. So whatever it was used for, it was used to cuff people.
Handcuff people against the wall.
You will cuff someone's hand and cuff it against the wall. But the height of the hook, the position of the hook, it's about 5, 6 inches. It's not very high from the ground. It's a very, so whatever it was, if your hands are hooked against that, you will only be squatting. You will either squat or you lie on the floor. You cannot stand.
They cannot stand
because to stand. So that is how inconvenient it is. Wow. And the two hooks are like not very far from each other.
So you are confined.
You can cough here and cough there. And yet you will be like on the wall,
so
on the floor. Sitting and your hands will be like that.
That's how cruel the system was.
So, and you have 3 of those houses. Opposite was a very comfortable residential house building. It's a self-contained with some very.
That's why the witnesses. That's where they will sit and enjoy themselves. Enjoy themselves when the detainees are dying. All right, let's go to one item finally. The arrest, sacking, probably, and murder charge, charged of JCB Mende, a witness to the TRRC, a former orderly of Sanasabel. Apparently, all these issues have now opened a whole can of worms. Does the TRRC has any powers to sanction arrest, even though it must be clear that this was Ministry of Justice who said they ordered for his arrest based on the suspicion that he was going out without papers, and he also confessed to killings. But the police didn't say for whose murder is he been charged. What do you make of all these things? Should he have been arrested, charged, when there are others who alleged to 9 killings who are still roaming the streets or are still around?
I think that's the question for everybody. So I'm going to confess that I have very little knowledge around this. I was not here when it happened. And a lot of what information that I got was on Facebook. So you would see how it is being loaded with opinion. But I think the basic question that many people are asking is, what is more special about this? So many people have appeared on the TRRC who have been alleged to have committed crimes. And I know that we have been talking about, even ourselves have been talking about people who are serving in the army at this point who have been alleged also to have committed such crimes. What is so special about this particular case? I think the dynamics that his attempt to leave the country might have contributed to the ministry wanting to act in order to detain him here, because he is also the first person who has attempted such. We know that there are people who have confessed in the DRC, but they have remained in the country. But if you're going to curtail somebody's movement, because movement is a basic human right, if you're going to curtail somebody's movement, it has to be premised on something. There must be legal grounds for that. So I think the Justice Ministry might have been looking for that legal ground to detain this person in the country so that they don't have the opportunity to leave. Because you cannot just tell somebody you cannot leave the country without justification. So this might be their.
Well, what compounded?
It's actually bail, but let's also understand perhaps the fact that state is often in custody of facts that are not that the ordinary person.
That's the police. The police said so.
One thing was that I know of a newspaper that JCB Mendy visited before he traveled, and he requested for a copy of a story he was featured in. So there were chain of events that
he was featured.
Conclusion that
his appearance at TRC or earlier?
After his appearance at the TRC. The report is supposedly looking for his coverage of that. He appears to be looking for details that you may look for to explain to someone what is happening to you. So sort of asylum, so to speak. So let's even pretend that did not happen. For me, if I were the Justice Minister, I will do exactly that. I will arrest JCB men.
But if
that's why I went.
Yes, go ahead.
You see, it's in the interest of the government to ensure that the TRRC succeeds in its endeavor. JCB Mendy was not like any other witness. We are talking about the death of people. When JCB Mendy appeared before TRRC, he was even yelling at FAL. In fact, at some point,
it was said to be a hostile
lead counsel had to treat him as a hostile witness. One, he was not cooperative. He was not cooperative. And he admitted participating in murder.
At least 2.
Two, here is a guy who we all knew who Sana was. JCB Mendy's description of Sana was that he's religious, honest, and sincere. And this is a guy who has presided over such a treacherous activity, such as murdering people cold blood. So he was not cooperative, and he became a danger to the process. Now, if you entertain this to happen, lying before the TRRC is a crime.
But now,
not also that.
But the question is, you didn't do anything about that until when he tried to go away. So the new reason for his arrest might have to do his attempt to go away. I think that's where it goes.
We need the TRRC process does not replace the legal system that exists as far as murder is concerned. So the state has a responsibility to try people regardless of whether or not the TRRC is in the process. I think the reason why...
But why others not
the reason why they are baiting their time.
If that is the case, then why was not Alagi Kai, who in fact confessed to 9 killings?
Here is my point.
So could we say now, even before the TRS recommendations out, these people could be charged with murder? People now would be scared.
That's what you might say.
All of them could.
Yes,
all of them could be charged. The reason why
so wouldn't that definitely scare people from coming to confess?
No.
But here is the thing.
If they know they will eventually be charged with murder.
No. You are not charged because you appear before TRRC. You are charged because you are not seemingly cooperating with the TRRC.
But what is the murder charge? Where is the murder charge coming from?
The murder charge has nothing because TRRC Act explicitly states that you cannot be charged for an evidence you've revealed before the TRRC.
So where the police getting charged?
Any testimony you use
so where is
the TRRC cannot be
so for whose death is it been charged? Because as far as
November 11.
But the TRRC
police have investigated this incident. They are using different facts altogether.
But until he appears before the TRRC and confessed,
he was not arrested.
He was not arrested
because he's not cooperating.
Now listen, doesn't this mean that why did others who confessed to their killings, at least 9 of them, are not arrested?
They're cooperating.
They're cooperating.
Of course.
Okay, there we go. All right.
Each of these individuals are legal persons in their own. They have no connection. They have a connection in terms of the crimes they commit, but as individuals, they can be tried individually.
Yeah.
Now here's
but that's after or before the TRRC?
The TRRC is not an extension of the legal system that exists.
Now listen.
The TRRC is a process. The reason why some of these people may not be charged is because they are helping the process. If somebody is found to be
is the TRRC?
That's exactly my point.
Listen. If the TRRC now secretly recommending for prosecutions even before their distinct ends, such as they can do for reparations before the investigation are over.
Do you know TRRC has that power?
Yeah, well, if they have that,
they do.
Are they using that now?
In fact, one thing that TRRC wants to do is to be issuing reports as their process goes.
Yes.
So they can
be recommending.
Like the commission.
So they can be recommending prosecutions or reparations.
Absolutely.
Even before this.
Absolutely.
So this
TRRC is a matter of its own.
Mendes case could have been a recommendation from them for him to be charged for murder.
I doubt that.
You doubt that?
I doubt that. But I think the Justice Ministry they have an obligation. The Justice Ministry also...
Only that they didn't say for whose murder is he been charged.
No, he's been charged in connection to November 11.
Yeah, but whose murders? There must be specific cases. Which murders? No, the ones he confessed on the TRRC?
November.
Has he appeared in court?
No, yes, he was bailed.
Yes. Yeah, but the court didn't even say whose murder is being charged. That's the problem.
He's bailed.
Okay.
He's bailed, but for whose murders? That's the problem.
It's in connection to November 11.
Yeah, but for who?
Lord Fall and Basil Baro.
But this has not been made. The police said they wouldn't say this thing.
Yeah, but they are they still investigate.
What I'm saying is, this is not setting a precedent.
Sometimes you need to bully people to cooperate.
Because
the least you can do to Gambian people is to confess to the
to end this thing. We should get we have reason to believe that one, all those who come before the TRRC and confessed are likely to be charged with murder. All right. And Mr. Mendes' case was urgent because he tried to leave the country.
Not necessarily
that is why it happened.
To be charged with murder. But obviously we know that crimes such as torture, murder, they can't be forgiven.
So they said there will be cases for prosecution. They would recommend that. But my problem is, why now? In the case of JCB, as it seemed to be, if they are the ones who ordered for him to be charged.
You know, I just told you why I will arrest him. I will arrest him because he is a danger to the process.
So it's because
he appeared not on. This is a guy who so conveniently witnessed 9 tortures and participated in only 1. Conveniently witnessed 3 good executions and conveniently participated in only. In fact, he denied participating in any at all until he appeared before the TR. It was only under pressure that he said, well, yes, I participated.
Okay, so his crime is.
And he was yelling at the commission at the league. So here is the thing.
So he was
Justice Ministry, appearing before TRRC is an option.
Yeah.
You appear before TRRC to seek for clemency.
Yes.
Right? Now, if you refuse to cooperate with that, we know you've committed a crime. We will prosecute you. But this is an option. The state is saying, go before the TRRC. There you have an option of being forgiven.
Asking for amnesty.
If you don't go before TRRC, we have enough facts to prosecute you.
That's right.
If you want to understand, that is what precipitated his arrest.
But what
the Justice Ministry Justice Ministry clearly explained.
What we are trying to say is that we don't know whose murder has been charged, and that's strange. When somebody is charged for murder, the first thing who did he kill? That's what everybody will ask. That's the next logical question. That is not said. That is one thing. 2, if his crime was confessing that he killed, because apparently whoever is charging him didn't know these facts until he before the TRRC.
Yes.
Why was Alaji Khan, who confessed to 9 murders, has not been brought and charged with anyone? Because he was cooperating. Because he didn't try to go. He didn't try to run away.
Alaji could be charged also.
Yeah, yes, that's what I'm saying. Yes.
Charging Alaji has nothing to do with charging JCB Mendy. They are two different individuals.
This was November 11.
And Alaji
It's November 11.
Crimes are going to be prosecuted separately as separate individuals. Now, for
That's what I'm
whether or
saying.
not they charge Alaji Khan, it could be maybe perhaps he's complying with the process of the TRRC,
remorseful as well.
which is important.
And he's got
which is
and
important
he's
for
got
reconciliation
and he got the
process.
forgiveness from the family.
Yeah, but that may not have any bearing on
To
whether
say
or not he gets-
the Justice Ministry is targeting the guy.
No, nobody said that. They're asking why him and not the others.
Because that would be preposterous.
Because of
But
Okay.
what makes this case unique?
All right. So the prosecutors or whoever is prosecuting him have knowledge of something that we don't know.
That's likely.
That's likely.
But for me, the reason why I'm prosecuting is what I've just said.
Okay. All right.
For me, I think
Now-
It's the same as Yakuba and Fatimata's
the
case.
underlying fact
No, I
is
mean-
they want to keep him in the country.
Yes.
Yes. So that is so. Him and all the others who confess to killings are always in the always watched by the TRC and the law, and perhaps what triggered this thing is his attempt to leave the country. So we can leave it like
For
that.
me, describing Sana as religious, very honest.
You think that is annoy everybody?
It's been defiant.
No, but that's how we know him.
But opinions, sometimes one ought to be sensitive to the situation of others.
Anyway, so that will do for the look at the press. Joyce?
Thank you very much. It was quite a heated argument. I must say that was quite enjoyable, and I want to believe that our viewers also see the same thing. Next would be Nimasata. Nimasata would take us through what's trending on social media, and I'm sure she would be blowing us off.
Thank you very much. So what's trending is a common knowledge. Everybody knows about it. So President Barrow's government had a fallout with the UDP, his parent party. And these are followed by so many other statements that are coming from Barrow himself. On one hand, you have statements from Hussein Udabo on the other hand, and it seems like their supporters are also falling in line and exchanging statements that are taken to be hostile from one side to the other. So recently we had Dusano, who is President Barrow's political advisor, making a statement during one of their rallies or meetings, where he said that no other party, not even APRC, not PDC, not PDOIS is their enemy. UDP is their enemy. UDP is their enemy. So this has been taken very negatively by UDP supporters, and as a result, some of them have also resulted to burning President Barrow's t-shirts or t-shirts on which President Barrow's face has been printed. And on social media, so many people are saying this is violent, it should not be acceptable, it may be a precedence for further violence from other quarters. So I don't know what your opinions on this are, on Dusano's statement, which is considered to be incitement of violence on one hand, and then you have the UDP supporters burning t-shirts, which is also in retaliation to that statement. What do you guys think of that?
Well, I think to start with, I'm not surprised that Dusano said something like that. I think it was one of...
now, what do you think the implications
one
are?
Speaker, just to give you the background, one speaker at the UDP rally once said that, in fact, the BYM is more of an enemy to the UDP than APRC. One speaker said that before. So I think Mr. Sano is just reechoing. That is the sentiment between the two.
And you people carried it.
Of course, we carried that one. It was said. One speaker said this, and it was carried in the paper. That that in the UDPC, the BYNM as an enemy, more of an enemy, even more fierce than the APR. So I'm not surprised Mr. Sano is saying that, and I think this is true because
I want to paint the picture here. You have two parties, although Barrow does not have a party, but he's a political agent. You have Barrow as a president who may be interested in the election, and then you have a UDP as a party who are competing for votes, right? If UDP says, a member of the UDP says BYM is their enemy, the implications of that, is it of equal weight as to Dusano saying UDP is the enemy?
I mean, this is what I expect from each today. And to tell you the truth, these are the two, at the moment now, this what he described is quite true. I mean, it's among these. Well, when they say enemies, they don't say people who take up arms against each other. They are political enemies, rivals. That's what he mean by
my point
enemies.
Politics is about numbers. It's not about sentiments. It's not about feelings, right? So if, for example, you have a political base that is as small as BYM and you want to expand that, and then you alienate a whole political constituency as big as UDP to say that these are our enemy. Does that make you a serious politician? Well,
I don't know whether the merit or what Dusano has to gain from there, by alienating or insulting the UDP. That's not what I'm trying. What I'm trying to achieve is I expect UDP and BYM to say things of each other, because apparently they are the ones today who are fiercely at each other's throats, when it comes to politics. So I expect them to say, but whether Dusano has the courage or the effrontery to try to alienate UDP, which is a bigger political force, that's left today. If you ask people from BIN, they will say they are equally big as UDP. But coming to the burning of effigies of the president, I think if it is not been done to step off the already polarized atmosphere between the two political factions, it's normal for anybody to disagree with somebody and burn a flag of people, burn flags of people or states that they do not agree with on one thing or the other. I mean, Donald Trump, everybody does that. Even people who are not Americans burn his face everywhere because of his policies they don't agree with. Now, what worries people in this context is that this very burning of edifices is heightening tension between the two camps, and it can lead to something else. That's what people worry about. But it's purely and fairly democratic to burn the faces of somebody you don't agree with.
Yeah, it's a symbolic.
So the worry is it not going to serve as a platform to escalate the differences between the two sides, to get it out of concern? That's why some people condemned it. They didn't condemn it in the way that is undemocratic. No, it's fairly acceptable. But then, in the new context and looking at how the trend is going, the seemingly brewing tension between them, that's why some people express concern that perhaps we should not go to that.
Yeah. I found it disrespectful.
Why?
I found it intolerable.
But the same thing's been done to Jammeh's edifice, even though he contended. Even though
face of the president of the Gambia. The president is the premier symbol of the republic.
If you are
it was Jammeh's faces were removed from everywhere, even before the impasse, even when he accepted.
Your usual person.
So if it is fair, if it can be done with Jammeh, it can be done with Barrow.
You cannot do that to Barrow.
You can do that with Jammeh. With Jammeh. I mean, for the same reason that you don't agree with Jammeh, the same reason you don't with Barrow.
If you kill my father, for instance, and I have an opportunity to even kill you, I'll kill you.
No, but
so if I burn your t-shirt, you better be grateful. But Barrow hasn't done that to anyone.
I know, but I'm telling you that unless it is getting out of hand and it's being used to spread hatred, it is not a problem to burn the flag or face of a state or individual with whom you agree, with whom you disagree politically.
I don't
Only that our fear is.
It's a way of disrespect. I don't agree that
it's not a way of disrespect.
Violent. Here's the thing. There is what is called symbolic speech. People express themselves in different ways. So anyone who is an advocate of free speech, anyone who is an advocate of freedom of expression, would see that this is a normal thing. It happens everywhere in the world where people.
This is an expression of hate.
But it's a way of expressing your discontent with particular things or particular issues. But I agree with you wholeheartedly that it is feeding into a whole tension that is brewing.
Exactly. That's very worrying.
And I think the bearing on the political leaders, Barrow on one side and Dabo on one side, to speak to their supporters, the militants especially, to calm them down is very relevant.
I see it as an expression of hate.
Well, I saw a statement that came from UDP KMC, to be fair with them, online, UDP KMC, which called
I think it should go beyond
this act to stop.
Yeah.
And I saw also online, supposedly said by Mr. Davo, that if Barrow turns up at New York or UN, they should not boo him. So I saw those things, to be fair with the UDP. Even though it is their supporters who are doing this, I saw at least some attempts. I saw some attempts to get the supporters, grassroots supporters, or the most violent ones to, to calm down. At least to be fair with them, I saw that online.
Yeah, I've also seen a statement from GYO where they have distanced themselves
from Dutsano's comment.
To say that it does not represent their values, and I think those are fair. They are good, but we should go beyond that. We should hear from the two political leaders where they.
I think if you look at the circumstances now, Mr. Barrow the APRC may have disagreed with Mr. Barrow. Doi may have disagreed with him. But I think what makes this one far more serious because they all come from the same area, and where you have people rivalry within the same camp, it's normally much fierce than outside. But it is the responsibility of both sides, and particularly Mr. Barrow, because when you are the president, you see, that's like how people used to say, you serve as the rubbish heap of everything. You must be tolerant. You must be accepted to be insulted, to be abused, to be accused of everything. And the more tolerance you show towards that, the more respectful you become. And of late, I have seen that his speeches are becoming, let's say, retaliatory. You see what I mean? Which does not help. The more tolerant a leader is, the more respectful you become. It's difficult to understand, but that's the nature of it. Exactly. You must not be seen to show emotions.
Exactly.
Even no matter how the provocation. That's why it's more difficult to be a leader, president, than to be any other thing. In this modern generation.
That's true.
What do you think?
So thank you very much, Fatou.
I agree with that.
Thank you very much, Nimasata. That was quite insightful. And over to you, Mustafa. You were taking us through what's trending on Kerr Fatou website.
Yeah, I think what we'll talk about the most recent one, which is the exhumation of our exhumation of a lot of people who have been killed. Close to 2 dozen actually, at the various places, but buried largely at Yundo.
You remember, you are talking about November 11 victims.
1994.
Yeah, the TRRC is trying to exhume.
So, the process started yesterday. The soldiers were there and they identified 2 major places. One is an area of about 7 by 10 meters. We dig the whole place yesterday, but we couldn't find anything. Now today they are on another area which is about 7 by 7 meters. So this is not very far from the cookhouse, as they call it, in the barracks. Yesterday we had our lunch at the barracks.
Ah, really?
It was nice. It was not what I would achieve.
As they said before, it was good. It was very cheap.
Yes. So that's what is happening right now. They don't have all the materials they need, but they're using this huge machine that digging the whole ground. And they have only one forensic expert. Gambia has only one. Thomas Gomez. And he told me today that they will be looking at it's likely that they would still find bones there because
bones don't.
People who have died 22 years.
Yeah, bones are.
They said there will be bones there.
Absolutely.
And what they would do is, basically they have 2 processes. There's something they call anti-mortem data. Like say for instance, if you see your husband, they invite a lot of people. Some say, my husband has this kind of a ring. Yeah. Okay, and at the time he left my house, he was wearing this. So you can expect that you can support, if you find this ring, it belongs to. At least you have reasonable suspicion to say it belongs to. Some say, my husband has a gold tooth, like replaced. And if you find that, probably there's a reasonable so that. So, but the issue is this is a mass grave. You will have to move on to DNA. After you do all the collections, the suspicion, then you can reasonably say that this is likely the place because all the rings that the people were wearing, the boots, the kind of trousers they wore, the combat suits they wore, this is where we found them. Then you can collect the bones, then you go for a DNA test.
I was lucky or unlucky to be present at the exhumation of the bodies of
December 30th.
December 30th, Lamin, what's his name again?
It's
Lamin Sawaneh, Nyaga, and the others. And it was really a messy process because those were bodies that were not completely decomposed, and we had to use masks, you know, to repel not just the gruesome side, but this bad stench that was coming from it was really quite an emotional scene for the relatives, particularly. Some of them cried at the scene there. Some could recognize, to my amazement, they could recognize even before they're out, the skulls of their loved ones. It was terrible. You remember, of course, there was this incident that one media broadcasted, and you know, when a woman saw her son in that condition, she collapsed, etc., etc. So it was quite. But one thing they did there, I don't know whether they did that at Yundum, was that they sprayed the whole area with some sort of chemicals, and then before they start digging. But then, of course, like you said, that one could have been new, and this one is 20 years old. So you don't expect.
But Thomas told me that there's likelihood that they would still find they will find bones. Not
bones would be there.
He told me bones such as the ones on they disappear.
But then other bones, but the big ones like
an important evidence. Mostly when
those things will be there. But these ones may disappear. The fingers.
So that's what the TRS is doing these days, this weekend.
Yes.
Trying to exhume whatever they can find.
Trying to exhume whatever they find. They dug the whole area, and he told me that they could tear the whole place down.
Yeah, just to get this.
Yeah, they will get it anyway. It will take a lot of time. So I think it's also fair to announce on this show that the State House have taken a U-turn on the screening of journalists by SIS. We've said it here. And
yes.
Yeah. Well,
so they capitulated.
Still the same questions more or less. They still ask you which places have you visited recently, why you were there and stuff.
You mean countries or places in the Gambia?
Countries.
Countries you visited. So we are definitely hostile.
Still the same background checks, but done by just yourself. It's just a form you fill.
So they capitulate. State House capitulated. So the journalists won.
So
Yes, that's it.
Yeah, that's it.
Is that all?
Yeah. So that would be for it because we pressed for time. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mustafa. Quite insightful as always, and thank you for that smart talk. Next on our next segment would be the entrepreneur, and what we do on the segment is every edition of the program, we profile a Gambian who has set up a business for economic and employment creation. We meet an entrepreneur by name Blessing Y. Adiliwa. She is the secretary and manager of Stressless Printing Cafe. They specialize in printing documents, business cards, flyers, posters, brochures, etc. Let's take a watch.
My name is Adilewa Yuandi Blessing. I'm a Nigerian. I'm the manager and secretary of Stressless Multipurpose Center. We run printing, laminating, photocopy, business cards, stickers, flyers, and brochures, things like that. That's what we do here. That's what we do. And very soon we're going to have a grocery store here too. So that's just all about it. Oh, we just started this job, and for now, I'm the only one working here. But maybe later, when it expands, we'll have more people to work for us. Stressless Multipurpose Center. We have adults, we have children, anybody that has to print or to type anything or to learn how to use the computer. So everybody is welcome here. We print certificates, we print their past paper, we print their results, we print everything, question papers. See, it's a very big expansion anyways, because I know that for now we have 4 systems here. I know it will be like 12 because people are already coming here, and I know that we have like a bigger place, maybe around Bruford or Bristolby, things like that. It's going to be big. Don't have any challenges here. People come in, print, and they go. There's no challenges at all. Traffic light opposite Kairaba police station, the Gambia. +220-7490-695 and 393-7662. That's the 2 numbers we use. And you can also reach us on social media. Facebook is Stressless Cafe, and our email address is stresslesscafe@yahoo.com.
Dreaming of owning a property in a prime location with great proximity and fantastic neighborhood? EJ Investments Sanyang Seaview Estate is the best choice you have been waiting for. Our Sanyang Seaview Estate is approximately 15 minutes drive away from the busy hub of Busubi roundabout and into the heart of nature, where you can have a peaceful and relaxed lifestyle with your family. You can buy a finished 4-bedroom story with 5-year flexible payment plan or a service plot with 2-year payment plan option. With over 300 homes, you will enjoy big tar roads with covered drainage, modern electrification with solar street lights, gated entrance with security post, and a breath-catching experience of our beautiful sea view and lake view. You can own a home today at our Sanyang Seaview Estate. Call us today on 446-4838 or 325-9220. Visit our website on ejinvestments.net. EJ Investments, first in property.
Welcome back after that insightful video of promoting the entrepreneur. It's usually not easy for us to see women getting into the printing industry and seeing Blessing getting into it. Kerr, to applaud you, and we hope that all Gambians go and patronize you, especially you being a woman. Now to one of the most exciting episodes or segments of the show, which is the special guest. And today, our special guest is Mr. Momodou Sawaneh, the former president of the Gambia Youth Organization in New York. He is a writer, a political analyst, and a community organizer. He is also the founder of the New Gambia platform, a platform that discusses about the political and social system of the Gambia. I wouldn't say much. I know all of you are really interested in knowing who Mr. Sawaneh is. Mr. Sawaneh, you're highly welcome to the Brunch Show.
Thank you.
Tell us a little about yourself and we'll forge ahead from there.
You just mentioned it. I'm a writer. I wrote a novel called Dangerous Love in 2000. The book is available on major bookstores. And I'm also a community organizer. Since I got to United States, I feel like there's a need for Gambians to come together and feel like home. Because in the West, life is so different. So people are kind of disconnected. So I came up with the idea of forming the Gambian Youth that brought the youths together 2002. So it's a community organization, and I served as the first president. Then 2014, 2016, I handed over the organization to other folks. So now I'm more focused on, getting involved in the debate, how to make our country better, because we are at a position where we have fought dictatorship and we brought freedom. So we come to a point where we had to put ideas, we had to face to reality, because we have issues that need to be solved in order for us to be the country that we want to be. So that's why I'm involved in that debate. In that process, I'm neutral when it comes to political affiliation, so I can be more of a fruitful someone to the debate.
Thank you very much. Now, you having a background in politics, I want you to, quickly tell us how Gambians in diaspora, of course we know Gambia's diaspora have contributed immensely to seeing that the new dispensation is in place, but how do they deal with the politics down there in your communities?
Well, Gambians, I think they don't, I wouldn't say we don't understand politics to the extent that we need to understand, because I've been involved in U.S. politics, in local U.S. politics, because in 2013 I have put together a political platform with one Ghanaian who ran for city council. Still didn't win, but we did great to the point that we get state funding, campaign finance funding. Now, the way I see the Gambian politics, we take it off the course. Instead of focusing on the issues, we focusing on personality. Instead of talking about, what we're looking for in a candidate, we align with the candidate because of, either tribal or because of knowing someone. So, and also in the debate, when it comes to the debate, we are not focusing on the issue. If we have a problem with someone, or you don't like someone, or this person is not in our team, then you see that as an enemy. Politics is not supposed to be an enemy. It is a way, to debate and see whose ideas will be sold more. But we take it at a personality level, and that creates problems and frictions over there. So if you see all this grumbling on social media, because we don't understand it, if we really understand politics, we have to sell our ideas to the audience so that we can be elected or we can have our policies passed.
Thank you.
You are a member of the diaspora yourself, and when you were like you said, fighting the dictator. With a lot of people who were involved in America and Europe, there was this strong coordination among the camps. But immediately after the change happened, there was this, some say, a fight over the spoils of war anyway. But there was this very much division that came. And you could see it even until today. Isn't that apparent? Like, right. Or is that different from your reading?
Yeah, no, that is.
Why do you think that happened?
Again, what I noticed when I came to this country, or when I came to the Gambia, I think there's a disconnect in terms of communication, because what I see on the ground is totally kind of different from what we talk about in the air. We kind of, exaggerate things and we go with emotion. Sometimes I hear maybe, when I hear an issue, then we take it out of proportion instead of getting, to the right, information. So in that process, people become emotional about it. I think that creates a lot of problem, especially, among the coalition leaders. So what had happened, this person said this, this person did that. So I think, I don't know how the sources, how we get our sources, but sometimes it's not actually what happened. So this miscommunication caused a lot of problems. People try to take sides or try to make judgments that are not in reality. So I think we should, the tension should come down a little more, and people try not to put their emotion in the news or when there is a debate about something, and we get to the bottom of it and put the picture of people who are involved in the picture, so that we get the real information. Because I was able to meet some of these coalition leaders, and what they tell me and actually what we think happening is totally different.
So, but in the diaspora itself, the division exists. In fact, one of the key players in the division sometimes are some people on Facebook, and some of them not here, some of them, most of them in diaspora, who've actively participated in the change. But now, after the change, also became separated into their various partisan groups, and now they are fighting each other. So,
right. Again, some people fight for reasons during the change. Perhaps for opportunity. When those opportunities have not been met, they probably would withdraw, or they might have some appointments, in their mind, or they might have some, way that they want their businesses to flourish here. So when the expectations are not being met, we are human beings. People do change. So I think all those things has, created this cloud of infighting. And of course, again, instead of us focusing on building the country as one body, we were looking for who would get the upper hand, which party would get the upper hand, which individuals would get appointments. So everybody started moving in different directions.
I want to take us back to the basics. The politics is important. The diaspora obviously is another important branch as far as Ghanaian politics is concerned. But bringing us back to the basic is about your organization that you formed in 2012, right?
2002.
2002. What sort of activities are you guys involved in, especially in terms of connecting the diaspora to them?
Well, it's a lot. We do. We started with first of all, creating a home for ourselves, getting connected, so that we can inform each other about employment. When somebody has a mishap, a family emergency, or somebody passed, we support each other. And then we also create. We started with the soccer team that we created, and we were able to connect to other states like Atlanta, Washington DC. Actually, we have one of the finest soccer team in the history of US when it comes to Gambian organization. So that creates a lot of connection, and we also create health awareness, whereby we invite individuals from the community, from different sectors to come and give some health advices, and we also had some sponsorship, opportunities for some students here for almost a decade. And right now we have some ladies who are actually involved in culture, Miss Gambia pageant, cultural pageant, whereby they born there and then they do some research about certain cultures and certain ethnic groups, and they present that to the target. So that has been, really our job, so things that we do right now. And again, we're going to create more opportunities like tutoring for kids over there, and then we also ship some beds, hospital beds. I remember from Kawai to VH. That was very helpful because I think 4 clinics benefited from that in 2007.
Now, you consider yourself a follower of politics, but a neutral person when it comes to present-day Gambian politics. So perhaps we can rely on your analysis of the present political situation. The trouble on the ground now is political parties who came together are now disagreeing among themselves as to how to go about this transition. President Barrow is going for a second term, and his members of the coalition didn't want him to go to second term. So that's the bone of contention. What's your position on that?
Well, I'm glad that you tell me, because I was able to have a discussion with some of them. Before I came here, what I understood, I was one of the few that used to say that we have to make sure that President Barrow will resign after 3 years. Because at that time I didn't understand how these people went about the MOU, and because I believe that these people who signed the MOU, they were doing it out of trust. And we came to a point that, and the Constitution definitely mandated for 5 years. So out of trust and out of, knowing that no one party can win that election, they entrust each other and say, whoever comes to power must resign after 3 years, and we do a constitutional amendment for 30 days election, and then whoever wins will leave. This is because so that one party wouldn't be absorbed by power to overshadow others or to overpower others. So that was the main idea. Now, they knew about the 5 years according to what they said.
Maybe I'll reframe my question. My question is, whether Mr. Barrow stops at 3 years or 5 years, do you think it is to his interest, the country's interest, for him to go for another term, whether it's 3 or 5? That is the bone of contention here.
Oh, you mean if
yeah.
Well,
is it a good idea for him to aspire for a second term? And because that's what brought about all this trouble now.
That part is a little debatable, because at this situation right now, I think either way wouldn't hurt the country, because having to say that that's not a development plan, that's the reason why President Barrow should stay. That I don't think that's the argument that I would buy into. I think what is the best interest of the Gambian people is what can unite us. Let's have sit down together and see what is it that we can communicate to come to an agreement about this, so that after this we won't be divided. But
if his ambition to go for second time is dividing the people, what would be your idea?
I would say don't do it.
In your view, is it dividing the people or is uniting them?
Right now, it's not uniting people, so that means it's dividing people.
But then somebody can say, well, Mr. Dabo or Mr. Halifa Salah's ambition is equally dividing people as mine. So,
well, if you look at these coalition members, they don't even worry about even if he goes to 5 years, according to my talking with them, because at this point, Barrow, nobody can stop him.
Yeah. So the problem
because constitution-wise, you cannot stop him.
So the problem is after 5 years.
After 5 years.
That's what I'm saying. That's the bone of contention. Yes. Do you think he should nurture the ambition to go, or is the country to stop?
You mean after 5 years?
Yes.
Well, if he can go after 3 years, and
the Gambian people feel after 5 years that he's doing a better job. Why wouldn't he go for another one? Because the point is that the stopping of him is through the MOU. Now, but if the MOU is something that would not be able to stop him, so what can stop him?
Now, what do you make of all the instruments in the agreement that he should pursue the transitional agenda, like TRRC, CRC, Janneh Commission, institutional reforms, security reforms, and then step out and leave a level field? You mentioned here that it was important because they don't want anyone to have dominance over the order. Now, his aspiration to continue will absolutely mean that he will have dominance over the others, which is against the interests of the country.
Right.
And then if he develops political ambition, he probably will not be better placed to implement some of these reforms because they are going to hurt people whom he would like to support him. So the people at least believe that if he tries, his ambition to go will conflict with his job to carry out those mandates.
Yeah.
Do you think so?
But if you look at it, since according to what I understand, the whole coalition thing was that to be able to have a coalition government so that they can dictate all these reforms so that the president wouldn't be overpowered. But that has been undermined. That's not in play now. Right now, look at the constitutional review.
So does that give him excuse also to ignore everything and pursue his own agenda? Just because the agenda is no longer there?
Yeah, that's why.
So that can give him an excuse to forget about everything and go ahead?
Yes. But that's what we are saying now.
Is that what the Gambian people wanted?
That's not what the Gambian people wanted, but that's what the Gambian people created.
By how? How did you and me create this?
Well, we cannot. It's not President Barrow alone who did this. It's our leadership. It's ourselves too. I mean, we are all included. This is not one man responsibility. I think what happened was that we all agreed to take Jammeh out. We came with a plan. Right, majority of us voted, and then get it job done. But after the fact that that thing was handed to us, that's where talk started. And then whatever happened in the ground or whatever had happened causes all this separation. Because according to what I heard, is there's supposed to be a second MOU that's supposed to show how the coalition should be governed. But that MOU was never given a chance to exist, to be signed or to be executed. And that's where everything started going. And then they say, who are we to control the president or to tell the president this or to create parliament with independent candidates?
So as far as governments are concerned, when it comes to fighting against entrenchment of power by an individual, we are back to square one.
Square one.
I have a follow-up question to the platform that somebody mentioned here. You mentioned that the kind of politics we have is different from obviously the one that exists in the US. Our politics is natured around individuals. We have personality politics.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So obviously when we debate, our debate is forced by what exists on the ground. Because if the politicians are not presenting issues to us, obviously we don't have anything to talk about as far as issues are concerned. It's the personalities that we talk about.
Right.
When you have created a platform you call New Gambia platform, what sort of debates happen on that platform that is different from what generally occurs?
Well, that platform, the good thing about it is like we well control and manage, and we also like have our policies, and people. A lot of people follow it because, we have sound-minded people who contribute to the debate, and we have a direct communication.
Is that to say that those outside of that platform are
not sound-minded? No. They might not all be in that platform, though, even though they're sound-minded. But what I'm trying to say is that we have a direct communication with the president's office. And now we're going to have a direct communication with the parliament, because I've been given, some information whereby we're going to be receiving some things, that the parliament is talking about, because that was one of the things that, because my argument is that the parliament...
I don't want to cut you, but something you mentioned here is very important. Majority of those who comment on politics, we comment based on the information we get on social media. We don't necessarily get information from the government. Right. And I think this debate has arisen here some time ago when we met, that the president or somebody close to the president wanted to regularize the social media sphere, right? And the reason why what was happening on social media is because people did not get the information they need. So what is your take on that? Do you think it's a good thing that people should be left in the darkness that their government is not providing the necessary information that's going to inform their debate, that is going to inform the decisions that they make?
No, I think the reason why, because again, the government should have should create an environment where information will be free to people, but that's not there yet. So, well, again, all this is part of reform that we're talking about that never really, materialized at this up to this point. So we don't have Free Information Act. We don't have a lot of other things. That's why people are grabbing anything that they hear somebody talking about. Oh, somebody's hired, somebody's fired, while it never happened. So I think the government, what from the question that you asked about what my platform is doing is to have a honest debate with them, in terms of either phone call or email, and then, ask them directly, what is this? Send us a proof, and then we can publish it. So we're doing that with the press secretary, Bojang's office. And true, because I met with the president, and when we present the platform, he said that I want the communication to go through so the press secretary, and that has been going on. Again, when we have ideas too, we put it together from a group, and then we send it to them. Yeah, and then we're gonna probably have also a talk show that would also get more feedback from people outside the platform, outside the group, so that we can also.
My final question though is, we have had instances here where things happened and the government is forced to come out and clarify and give clear information, and they do this through certain media, and then it turns out that they are not credible information. Right. So what makes you think that the information they're going to give you will be credible? Well,
the government is always going to cover themselves, but that's why, again, we need an independent, media station like yours and other places who need to be critical on finding sources from other people who are not inside the government. Because, otherwise, if we don't have credible media, trust me, we're all going to be going on their boat, and then we're going to end up, being back to, where we are. So we need credible media to be pouting on the presidency and the executive power and all other, branches, so that we know what actually is right information. But people in social media, it's not their fault. When they hear something, they want to, it's their country, they want to own it. So that's why they come in with all their thoughts, and that's why I never blame people in social media, because I'm myself, I'm a victim of that. I've said something that because I didn't get the right information, and I didn't regret it. It's just that I didn't just get the right information. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Mr. Momodou Sawaneh, for sharing your information, that is the platform that you've organized in order to sharing information. And it's also a good thing that you're trying to get direct source from where it ought to come from. But before we take a leave of you, we would like you to share your final words with us.
Right. Well, I think you guys are doing a wonderful job. I have to thank my sister, Fatou, for giving me this opportunity to come here and then share a little bit of my 2 cents. Add it to the debate. I don't know. I'm not on the ground, so I just see that Gambia is doing great. Trust me, it's not like we're not going somewhere. We're going somewhere. It's just slow. Yeah, and then we still haven't lost the control, because I don't think the government or President Barrow's administration is a threat that that would take us back to where we are. So this is still, I encourage everyone to work with the government, not to work against them. Although they might come with bogus programs or stuff like that, it's up to us to vet it. We have to penetrate the system in order to make the system change. We cannot sit on the sideline and say, I'm not part of it, or it is this government, is this party's government. No, we have to penetrate it. And the other thing is, we have to take responsibility too. We can't, government is not the one that does everything. We as citizens, we need to connect with other groups, trying to do things here. Especially, I gave a speech in Madison about that, whereby people in the diaspora also need to be an ambassador for Gambia, so that we can bring opportunities here, and either in medical, either in businesses or any of those sort, to help our country, because we can individually build nice houses and people will come here. But if we are not individually working together and putting our country first, then that means, there is no system in place, and the people will come here getting lost. Like, I was trying to find some information about some registration of a foundation. I had to be going from office to office, office to office. This person sent me here. I could have one time just get other information online. So it looks like it takes so much time to do one thing. And that's what we need to change in the Gambia. It takes too much, and we don't have time. In this life, we don't have time. So I urge, all of us to get involved, take the responsibility, and then own our country.
Thank you very much. He said something really vital, that is, you penetrate the system to make the system change, and most importantly, take responsibility for our beloved Gambia. Thank you very much, and indeed it was a pleasure having you on the show.
Thank you.
Now to the hotspot of the week. Today I'll take you to St. Fast Food and Restaurant located at Westfield. Let's watch.
As the manager of St. Fast Food. So we offer so many services here. When people order food, we supply them. And also we look for convenience of people who comes to the restaurant. That's our first priority, to impress people when they come in, so that they impress, and the food also we serve as quality food we also serve. That's our number one pride that we have, because we want to give best service to people so that tomorrow they can come back. Yeah. At the moment, we have so many. Our menu is, we have chicken, we have steak, we have shawarma, we have meat pie, snacks, we have steak sandwich, fish and chips, shrimps, burger, shrimps and garlic, and so forth. I cannot name all, but they are plenty. And then also, we offer service to people. You may call somewhere, you want order, we take it for you. People who order food here, they come and collect in bulk. So we do so many services. Also, we cut our chicken into pieces. Like we have full chicken, half chicken, potted chicken, so that those who cannot afford to have, they can take potted chicken. So we do so many services. We also sell stuffed meat pie. That one also chips, mayonnaise, vinaigrette, cucumber, sliced tomatoes, and so on. There are so many things, because the comfortability of this place, you can find certain services here that we prefer, what we make to customers that you cannot find in another place. Like here, we offer Wi-Fi free, How if you come, the customer come, you buy a drink and you take it. Comfortably, we have our seats very comfortable. You sit and browse, do your browsing and so forth. We also show football matches when it is on. Fast food located on West Street. 980-5820 or 680-5820. Anyway, I want to thank all the customers, those who are coming in and out, and the good service they are offered. I also thank them very much for their help. St. Fast Food is the hottest spot in town.
Welcome back after that beautiful video visiting St. Fast Food restaurant. We've now come to the end of the show, but before we take a leave of you, we'll allow our panelists say their final words for the show today. Mr. Lamincha.
It's about that fast food has been around there for more than 20 years now. I have eaten there countless times, and it's a very, very nice place to be, St. Fast Food. If there's the one near Westfield, near Standard Bank. Is that right?
Right.
Yeah.
So
they did a good job.
Advertising for the
No. Well, they've already been advertised.
It's really nice. Nice show. I'm happy to be back after so many weeks of break. I hope to see you guys next week again.
TRRC is resuming and it will be interesting. And by the time we are back here, we would at least have, inshallah, found some bombs.
From your exhumation trip.
Absolutely. So it's been an eventful, week, and I am hoping that the next week will be also very eventful.
Joy.
Before we take a leave of you, we'll give a special thanks to our sponsors EJ Investment and Gantel for providing us with fiber cable for our internet services. On behalf of the Brunch crew and Fatou, we wish you a very blessed weekend.
Dreaming of owning a property in a prime location with great proximity and fantastic neighborhood? EJ Investments Sanyang Seaview Estate is the best choice you have been waiting for. Our Sanyang Seaview Estate is approximately 15 minutes drive away from the busy hub of Busubi roundabout and into the heart of nature, where you can have a peaceful and relaxed lifestyle with your family. You can buy a finished 4-bedroom story with 5-year flexible payment plan or a service plot with 2-year payment plan plan option. With over 300 homes, you'll enjoy big tar roads with covered drainage, modern electrification with solar street lights, gated entrance with security post, and a breath-catching experience of our beautiful sea view and lake view. You can own a home today at our Sanyang Sea View Estate. Call us today on 446-4838 or 325-9220. Visit our website on ejinvestments.net. EJ Investments, first in property.